Civil law. Section overview. While criminal law involves people who are accused of violating a law and committing a crime, civil law helps settle disagreements between people. Civil cases may involve individuals, groups, businesses, or parts of the government. In other words, two individuals can sue each other. An individual can sue a business or vice versa. Common types of civil cases include personal injury, property, and consumer cases. Civil trials follow steps that are different from the steps in criminal trials. Civil trials also differ from criminal trials in their purpose and in who bears the burden of proof. Because the civil trial process is time-consuming and expensive, people sometimes turn to other legal methods to settle their civil disputes. Principles of civil law. Civil law is the body of laws that help settle disagreements between people. A civil case is usually referred to as a lawsuit. A person called the plaintiff begins the lawsuit. The plaintiff brings a lawsuit against or sues another person, called the defendant. To bring a lawsuit to sue someone, the defendant must offer a defense against the charges. The case is heard in a civil court before a judge. Some cases are also heard by a jury. The judge or the jury listens to the evidence. They decide which side in the case has presented the strongest evidence. The side with the strongest evidence has what is called a preponderance of evidence. This is what the jury uses to decide the verdict. If the judge or jury decides in favor of the plaintiff, the defendant may have to pay damages to the plaintiff. For example, Joe Jones backs his car into Rosa Santiago's motorcycle. Rosa has to pay $250 to get the motorcycle repaired. When Joe refuses to pay Rosa for the repairs, she takes him to court. The judge rules that Joe must pay Rosa $250 in damages to pay her back of the loss. Civil cases may also be decided on equity or fairness. For example, a factory discharges waste that raises the water level of a stream. Water from the stream damages homeowners' yards. The neighbors sue the factory, and a judge orders the factory to halt the waste discharges because they are unfair to the neighbors. Types of civil cases. Civil law can involve a wide range of issues. A tort is a wrongful act against a person or property. The person who feels victimized by a wrongful act may sue. Sometimes this wrongful act can be from negligence or carelessness. Civil cases often involve contracts. A contract is a legally binding document between two parties. If the terms of the contract are broken, either party can file a civil suit for breach of contract. The following are the most common types of civil cases: personal injury cases, property cases, consumer cases, domestic cases, housing cases, and probate cases. The sequence of a trial. This chart shows the sequence of events in a civil trial process. First, a civil lawsuit begins with a complaint by the plaintiff. Second, the defendant receives a copy of the complaint and a summons to appear in court. The defendant then answers the complaint in writing. Both sides gather evidence before the trial. At trial, witnesses are questioned, evidence is presented, and a judge makes sure that the trial proceeds in an orderly manner. Last, the judge or jury decides the case based on whether or not the plaintiff proved the case with a preponderance of the evidence. The complaint by the plaintiff describes the problem and suggests a solution, such as paying damages. The summons orders the defendant to appear in court. In the answer, the defendant admits or denies responsibility for the problem. Discovery is an exchange of information that makes sure that the plaintiff, the defendant, and the lawyers know what evidence will be presented at the trial. Both sides can use a subpoena to order a witness to appear in court to give evidence. A subpoena can also be used to require evidence to be submitted to the court. Alternatives to civil trials. Bringing a lawsuit through the civil court system is called litigation. It can be time-consuming and expensive to sue someone. People can save time and money if they avoid going to trial. They can choose an out-of-court settlement. People, often working through their lawyers, can come to an agreement about the lawsuit before any trial begins.